I have a lot of Upsilonian friends. I took my undergrad in UP, and I had a lot of org mates in JMA, UP Junior Marketing Association, who invited me to join. And at first, I was not convinced kasi sanay ako sa narrative na hindi naman kailangan yung frat to succeed, or parang it's like any other organization or group of people.
Ever since I was a high school student in Ateneo, narinig ko na talaga yung Upsilon. And yun ang recurring palagi conversation from high school going to college, na sikat naman talaga yung Upsilon. Kapag sinasabing mga when you talk about frats tsaka college frats, Upsilon yung palaging nababanggit in Ateneo High School. Pero Ateneo High School ako, tapos nag-Ateneo College ako, so I didn't have the chance to join Upsilon. Plus, sa mother side ko naman, puro UP Diliman kami. Lahat ng titos, titas ko, and cousins ko, lahat yan UP Diliman. Tapos they also joined different frats. So every time merong reunions, napapag-usapan mga fraternities sa UP. And notable palagi pag Upsilon, although no one in our family joined Upsilon before. Tapos na-observe ko pa, yung sisters ko, UPIS yan eh. Tapos yung isa kong sister, Mascom, UP, tapos ako namang sister, Business Econ. Napapansin ko, pagka may mga barkada sila sa UP, tapos tumatambay sa bahay namin, pagka Upsilon yan yung barkada nila, mas maporma. Tsaka guwapings.
I joined the Upsilon Sigma Phi because of family tradition. That's one. And number two, I have had so many opportunities or events in my life that I had an opportunity to join, and somehow it doesn't escape me. So to me, I believe that it's a gift from above that's been going to me, going back and forth. And at the age of 46 during that time, when I was again recruited to join, there was more compelling reason. Because I thought that we were in the middle of a crisis, of an unprecedented crisis after the Second World War, so which is the pandemic. And personally, our family was going through a crisis because my father was very ill, dying, and that was one of his last wishes, to see me join the Upsilon Sigma Phi.
Actually, I grew up with my dad and my older brother, GT, very active in Upsilon. I had good recollection of the memorabilia my dad had back home in Davao about Congress 1. We even see him wear the shirts. Eventually, brods come and go, and I see them. They call anytime. And they're like second family to us in the Chonko household. So I think I see them, and with their sincere brotherhood, sincere fellowship, how much my dad cherished the Upsilon.
My dad is Carl Zapanta, 1998. So he had me at a very early age. He had me at college. So ever since I was a baby, growing up, I was already exposed to him in his resident life. Growing up, I was already exposed to how they work, their batchmates, how they enjoy their college life, after college life. So right then and there, I could say that I was already illusioned as to how the fraternity worked, as to how they treated each other.
Sumali ng Upsilon kasi I think I have potential, but I think it would take some kind of, or like, kailangan ng greater force, or like a next step to become even greater. and maging kasing galing ng mga tao na yun. And I look up to these people. That's why I want to be like them.
Before, siguro subconsciously, meron na nakatatak na sa akin Upsilon. So siguro, sinabi ko na sa sarili ko, if ever I'm gonna join a frat, I would like to join Upsilon. Pero I heard, it's invitational. It's very exclusive. So parang I let go of that dream na, in a sense. Kasi undergrad ko, Ateneo. So hindi ko naman in-expect din na magiging artista rin ako, then magiging politiko ako. So I took Masters in Public Administration in NCPAG. Naging kaklase ko ba doon si IF Jello Villar? Early on kasi it took me a lot of years to finish my Masters. But he did not recruit me. Until napansin ko in Congress, hindi ko naman alam that they're Upsilonians. Ang kaklose ko doon si Senior Brad Martin, Romualdez, Roman Romulo, tapos si Rimpy Bondok. Sila yung mga naging kaklose ko. Well, Senior Brad Roman kasi seatmate ko siya. Senior Brad Rimpy naman kasi I always refer to him when I ask something about the rules. Kasi magaling talaga sa rules na majority leader si Senior Brad Rimpy. Tapos si Senior Brad Martin naman, meron na kaming connection before pa because of my mom. Pero in general, sila yung palagi kong tinatakbuhan. I run to them when I need something and they look after me. And for some reason, I just like them naturally.
Eventually, GT joined in 1991, and how my dad was so scared. But, well, deep inside, I know he was excited. He rushed to Manila to be there sa initiation, and how proud he was that GT eventually became an Upsilonian. So throughout the years, the Upsilon was like an extended family, all the way until Dad's passing away. And even if I still see them most of the time, I see the Brads most of the time, may kulang eh. Because, syempre, hindi ako Brad. I'd call them Tito, or I'd call mga other Brads by their first name. But the connection or the fellowship, what we call the fellowship or the sincere connection wasn't there. So when I had my time in 2020, being a faculty of the UP PGH College of Medicine, I guess it was time. And it's also a time to honor Dad by joining.
I enrolled myself at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, for a PhD course. During the pandemic, I wanted to broaden my horizon in the field of food security and agriculture. And then I met the chancellor then, Dr. Dindo, who also eventually became a ninong, and never thought that I'd join. And then Chris Ablan and the rest of the Upsilon brothers at the PCOO got wind of the situation of the enrollment, but we never talked about it. And the budget hearings came, and I had to visit Senior Brad, the speaker now, Martin Romualdez, and we were, kumbaga sa Tagalog, bukang bibig na dapat sumali ka na, Martin, sumali ka na, ganun. During that time, I realized that how come it's always coming back, it's always knocking, this opportunity knocking on my door. And one day, I was at home, and then Senior Brad Chris messaged me. He said, boss, because I was his secretary then, boss, eto na, merong process, sumali ka na. Yeah, I just said, this is the right time.
The initiation process was really hard, I must admit. But every time nahihirapan ako, I always cling to this line, and it empowers me, or it makes me, parang it assures me na once I finish, I will have these brothers who will look out for me and who will ensure that I reach my fullest potential.
During the whole process, I really felt low. Parang ang baba-baba ko talaga, amuyong talaga ako. And it was so, the process was so intense that every time ngayon na meron akong challenge sa buhay na darating, I still feel na, uy, nagawa ko yung process. I can do this. Ang pinagdaanan ko sa buhay na mas mahirap lang sa process, marriage. And establishing a family. So it was one of the most difficult times ng buhay ko to undergo that process kasi puyatan, walang tulog, then pandemic. The whole time, we were all scared, the 5 of us doon sa group. Oh, sigurado tayo. That was 2020.
It's the times eh. The pandemic was out of our control. So I don't think anyone's really to blame for everything that's been happening within the fraternity, everything that's been happening outside the fraternity. I joined during the pandemic, and of course, kahit sinong magsasabi, sinong baliw ang sasali ng frat during a pandemic. And I think that the key word for that is perseverance, because yun nga eh, you'll persevere despite everything that's happening inside and outside the fraternity.
When an organization thrives at the most difficult times, and that is to say the pandemic, and you can continue to recruit, you can continue to do the tasks that you are asked to do, it only means that you are an organization, you are a fraternity that can thrive even in the toughest times.
Part of being in batch 2020 is, well, I guess it's an advantage and probably also a disadvantage is you have an elderly or a more senior batchmate. And a more senior batchmate like me, we eventually had to be a constant reminder or a big brother to the younger ones by being someone whom they will emulate and reminding them about, oh, batch, attend naman tayo, or batch, may problema ka ba? So in terms of that, it helps being someone who is older. We can give them advice and probably life lessons. Oh, batch, huwag tayo malate. Medyo unprofessional yan, lalo na pag trabaho ka na. Probably some disadvantage naman if for someone who's being older in the batch is syempre, you're less physically agile and mobile. So some of the activities like magbuhat ng mga when you're preparing some stuff, medyo may konting reservations na kami. But yun, that's a good dynamic sa batch, a mix of old and new. And that way we can help especially those the younger ones na medyo hirap in academics, hirap in some sort of family or personal problems. That way we can help them.
We really got bonded as a group, as in kami. And ako, I never felt that I was a lot older than my batchmates and my group mates. And ngayon, kasama ko yung batchmates ko. Feeling ko, bumabata ako. And I like that feeling.
Our relationship within the batch, I don't know how, but it runs really deep. Despite the fact that, yun nga, si Martin, his son is a batch lower. But still, we feel na it's not a father-son relationship when it's us. It's more of a senior and junior relationship. You could really feel yung brotherhood talaga na nararamdaman namin within the batch.
As one who wanted to enter the fraternity, I also wanted to experience that kind of process not just coming in as someone who's like 20, 25 years older than my batchmates or even the senior ones in the fraternity. I wanted to be junior. So with that, I started with even having what they call the amuyong complex. Whenever I get a text, I'd open it right away and call again. I call right away. I address everyone as senior Brad.
I think that's the specific diversity within the frat. It gives us a sense of freedom wherein we're all free to speak, to think, and yet still have that brotherhood despite how we're all different. It's good kasi Martin's my batchmate, and it never was an issue for us, everyone. It was never an issue, our political beliefs, our values. Of course, we'll have our own quarrels, but at the end of the day, I think brotherhood will always be on top.
I have that unique perspective of a 2020 hindsight, in a way. Because I'm already 46. My batchmates are 20, 18, 19, and they will go through what I went through. So my situation gives me that opportunity to help my younger batchmates make it through life and giving them an example of the virtues, of the values that are written in the poem If. I guess that's how I will contribute to my batch. I tell them, I want them, all of them, to succeed because they are just starting. And with Alfred and I and Jean, you know, we're the kami mo matanda eh. I guess that's the area where we can come in.
I graduate 2021, so I was still able to serve a few months as junior talaga, resident Brad. So nakakatulong naman tayo sa mga projects and nautusan naman tayo. Pero I still feel that I'm a junior kasi kinakabahan pa rin ako in the presence of senior buds. Kinakabahan pa rin ako pag meron pa rin ganong chills.
Yung fellowship namin is working eh. Kasi we're all online, di kami nakalabas. So, we bond with our batchmates, our seniors, through work. And I think if I joined earlier, I would have experienced more different kinds of fellowship, even before the pandemic.
I felt a sense of belonging, a sense of brotherhood, and there's a deep fellowship, something that, you know, words cannot explain, but you know by the handshake alone and looking straight into the eye that you're all together and you are all one as Upsilonians.
Kung ka-group mo, kung ka-batch mo, mahal mo yan. Ipaglalaban mo yan. And now, in the two years down the road, I think we're getting stronger and stronger lang. Instantly, nagkaroon ako ng network of good, trustworthy, and reliable brothers in Upsilon. And iba yon. And ang dami kong pinagdaanan in politics. And doon ko na-realize, even if you haven't met that broad, if you haven't, even if you're not close, once you're a broad, they will help you. So ang dami kong pinagdaanan na challenges in politics, even in the past elections. All my key people na nag-help talaga sa amin were broads. And the brilliance, the wisdom, the commitment, that's how my life changed. So now, when I approach leadership, when I approach my office, nakikita ko na siya in the context of in the context of deeper and meaningful relationships.
Kung merong mang kumpanya na human resources na magaling at masabi mong maaasahan pagdating sa headhunting. Kung napasali na ako sa Upsilon noong 1993, hindi sana naging mahirap yung pag-hire ng mga magaling na tao. Because I see it as a top-notch equivalent to a top-notch HR multinational company.
Yung Upsilon, we don't work as individuals eh. I mean, we're great in our own right. We're great. Kahit mag-isa lang tayo, kaya natin. Diba? The best form of self-negation is not to be self-negated for. But, yun nga eh, we work as groups, as batches, as residents, or we work as groups of people. Kaya, sure, maybe arguably, there are links which are weak according to the saying, pero you can't define Upsilon with one person. Malakas tayo as a group, as brods. The brotherhood that glues us all together.
The more Upsilonians are needed now. So kailangan mas magparami pa tayo because of the principles that we believe in and the camaraderie that we have, which we can never ever take for granted. In short, we're very relevant now. Okay? We are the players. We are. Actually, we are the big players of society and nation building. And nakita natin yan sa mga appointments, nakita natin in business, and nakita natin yan in the university, in the academe, in science, in the arts. We are still there. And Upsilon, the Upsilonians will always play a very, very big role in nation building.
Service in terms of, well, we know the high-profile brads who are, but in the other sector, when I'd say health sector, we are still very relevant. I'd say Ted Herbosa keeps us relevant.
The number one thing that distinguishes Upsilon from other groups of people is brotherhood. And it is through this line where the concept of brotherhood is fully encapsulated. Brotherhood gives you this opportunity to learn, to be better, that family can't, school can't. Upsilon lang yun nakakapag-offer ng ganong opportunity.
Before coming into the fraternity, I wouldn't say I was a nobody, but I didn't have anything to present myself with, basically. I didn't have organizations, I didn't have specific accolades. And to cut things short, of course, ayun nga, I was able to do everything I wanted to do before I wanted to join, which was eventually run into the student council. I was able to become vice chairperson. I was able to work under the office of Kiko Pangilinan. So thinking about it, I always put myself na, what if I didn't join? Would I have been able to do these things? And I look back and I say, hindi eh. It's the values that the fraternity gave me. It's the values and it's the people that helped me reach this point of life where I am right now. Joining the fraternity is the best decision of my life, and I don't think I'll ever change my mind with that decision.
We're all UP students. And yung tinuturo sa UP is that we become critical or that we exercise our minds to form judgments or opinions. And dahil sa ganitong aspect ng UP, I would say that they're entitled to their opinion. So if they think certain ways about Upsilon, kahit negative, then sure, they're entitled to that. But di naman nila tayo kilala eh.
Of course, people could tell us these things, but me kasi my personal belief, what if I become that person who proves everyone wrong?
We have to be always present and carry the frat in a good way that We are walking seals of the fraternity.
We're here because we gather light to scatter. But you must remember that lahat ng ilaw, hindi 100, 200, 300, 400 lumens yan. Meron dyan mga 10 lumen lang. So our job as batchmates is to add more lumens to the others. Batch 2020 is made of sterner stuff.
Would the fraternity be in good hands? From 2020, yes. Even if we pass it down, I think we're very much ready.
The values remain intact. Probably the times have changed. They're online, there's technology into it. But if you look deeper, if you look into the core, it's still there. The values, the indoctrination of being an Upsilonian, it's still there.
Listening to beautiful stories about the fraternity, I have heard the good times and the bad times of the fraternity and how the fraternity has remained again relevant throughout the ages. With the changes of technology, with the changes of the times. But the virtues, the values remain.
For me, I'm confident with my batchmates and I'm confident with what we have to offer. And between me and my batchmates, I can say, Upsilon is in good hands. Our future is bright.
My life was already on a dead end. That's what I thought of myself. Nawala na ako ng motivation. And when I joined the fraternity, it gave me that second wind. Na, teka muna, hindi pa pala tapos. Meron pa pala akong dapat gawin. I still have to gather and scatter more light in this world. Merong pagsisisi. Kasi alam ko na had I joined earlier when I had an opportunity in 1993, I would have been a better person now. It's not that nag-aambisyon ako na mas mataas pa yung narating ko, pero I would have avoided a lot of my mistakes in the past. I would have had a brighter North Star. That's why I convinced my son to join. After 2020, sabi ko, kailangan mong sumali. Kasi iba, hindi mo maintindihan. And that was also the promise of my son to his grandfather, when he's 69, a day before he died.